Hello everyone, it's your favorite Senso Tech Jedi, and this video is going to be an overview and a walkthrough of the admin center of your Senso portal. As you can see, I've already logged in at app.senso.cloud. Depending on your access, you may or may not see the tools listed across the top. If you do have access to the admin center, it will be labeled with admin center and look like a gear. If you go ahead and click on that gear, it's going to take you over into the admin center, the back side of Senso. This is where you can set up your users, set up your roles, do your integrations, manage your devices, all of the technical side of Senso. Here on the left in your navigation pane, again, if you're an organizational admin, anything listed here will be based off of your licensing, so you may not see web content filter, you may not see logging. It just depends on what you have purchased and is part of your license. Again, if you are not an organizational admin, but you have been given admin privileges, this could also be restricted down to specifically what you need to see by your organizational admin. So you see here we have options from AUP, concern reports, console users, devices, DNS filter, downloads, integrations, license, logging, web content filter, notifications, service desk settings, and sites. Again, remember, you may not see some of these options based off of the licensing that you have or based off of the admin privileges you have been given and by your organizational admin to view certain things here in the admin center. Some of the main areas that you'll want to utilize is going to be console users. This is where you can manage your roles. Now, roles are going to be entire roles set up for users. So this is going to be a template for them that gives them permissions on how they can do things within the portal. Permissions, how they cannot see certain tool sets. How do you give them specific modules? This is going to be here in this add role area so that when you add your users, either by importing a CSV, or you may have an integration that imports them automatically, or you may be creating those users manually. This add role is very important to give them a default role that gives them some basic default options. Outside of the role, if you want to select the users, you can go into the users individually and you can make modifications for the users individually. Now again, the role is going to give them a template that everybody assigned to that role is going to have, and then you can modify that template based off of certain settings here in where the pencil is next to the users. For manage role, you would just click add role, and then you'll be given the options for general. This is going to be applied to what they can see and what they can't see as far as the sites, and it can be based off an integration where they can only see this specific classes that have been set up for them in their sync. Permissions is going to be what do you want to give them access to in the admin area. Modules are going to be the tools across the top that they have access to see. Role visibility, this is set which sites the users can view as far as the role itself. And the login restrictions, when can these users have access to view the portal and view student devices? So is it only during school hours, or would it be your public IP address? I'm intentionally not scrolling down because I don't want to put my public IP address out there on the internet, but down there at the bottom would be that option. Devices is where you're going to manage your devices. This is where you're going to be able to see your devices, the type of devices, IP address, the MAC address associated with them. You'll also be able to refresh here. You could do a cleanup tool. Maybe you need to remove duplicated devices or devices that have not connected in the past 30 days. You could go ahead and run that. You have the ability to clear the filters. Maybe you're running some filters up here and you need to clear those filters and export a CSV from the information here. You'll also, when you click on a device, you'll be given a couple extra options. Maybe you need to assign or unassign them to a specific bundle. You'll be able to see the bundles purchased down there below where it says bundles and the site that they have access to. This is going to be important if you have purchased split your bundles and some of your bundle licenses go to a certain set of devices and other bundle licenses go to another set of devices. This is where you would be able to manually assign that for your users. You can edit. This is going to give you some general settings here where you can use it as a relay for Wake on LAN, and you can even overwrite this device if it connects up with a newer name. So that saves you if you're doing a lot of re-imaging over the summer, and you have devices that once they've joined the domain again, they may be using a default name and then they have their new name on the network, and you may have some duplications there. You can go ahead and turn that on here, and it will overwrite the device if a newer connects with the same name there. So you only have one device at a time in your devices area. This is where you can set up your DNS filter. This is where you can find your Windows client download and some documentation on how to install your client. Here's where you can set up all your integrations. We talked about that in the other video about how you can view integrations right there in the front end of Senso for everything from ClassLink to Clever to Microsoft. I'm not going to click on license. Again, I don't want to showcase my license for my portal, but license would show you information like your license key, which is going to be important for deployment. So make sure you watch those deployment videos because they'll be referencing the license area here. Logging, if you do have logging in your safeguarding policy, this is where you would set up your logging and safeguarding policy. Same thing with your web content filter. This is how you could set up your web content filter. We go into a deeper dive in individual videos for this area. So again, this is just an overview introducing you to the admin center. So make sure you check out those other videos for a deep dive on how to set that up. Notifications. This is where you're going to be able to set up those notification groups. So maybe you want to set up a group so that when a specific user logs into a device, you could find that out. Or this would be a great way to set up the severity levels for your users, meaning that if a user types in something that falls within a severity level, another user, a principal, a safeguarding lead, a counselor, an administrator would receive a notification email letting them know that this user has violated this policy that has been set up and they need to look into it and investigate it. Service desk. Service desk, this is where you're going to be able to set up all your service desk settings for your help ticket. This has its own walkthrough process to help you learn how to set everything up here that follow along here on service desk, and also up there in the top corner you'll see where it says service desk. If you click on that, that will take you into the service desk area that will have its own walkthrough on how to set up service desk. Settings, this is where you would want to change for your time zone. You don't need to worry anything about the stun turn configuration. Really just here is if you want to automatically overwrite. Before we talked about how you could set that up manually where you could overwrite same name devices for your devices that you're adding in the managed devices area. Here you can set that as a global setting, so you can go ahead and overwrite duplicated name devices in the same site and save you having to run the cleanup tool as often because it's taking care of any duplicated devices that may join the portal. The Uncover Anonymous Reports is based off of our toolbar that will be in a separate video talking about how reports can be sent in and you can see those reports. And then you have your sites area down at the bottom where you can set up all your different sites, and these are going to be the buildings here. You see how I have just the one site, the Senso US Technical Support site, but you can have as many different sites as you'd like. And the assignment key, this has several different names, and this will be showcased in the videos that we do after this. We'll refer to this as your assignment key or your site ID or your SID, S-I-D, site ID. This right here, your assignment key, is very important during deployment, that you'll be referencing the site ID or the assignment key or the SID for your deployment. So this is where it's found. You can change that, you can modify that, you can set up your own assignment key for all the sites that you add in. Again, across the top, you're going to have your service desk area, which has that self-service install that walks you through how to set that up. Your logging area is going to be where, after you have set up your safeguarding policy, this is where you're going to be able to view those logs. There is your admin center tab again, or excuse me, gear, so you can get back into this page that we're working on here. We have the announcements area. This is any announcements from us, Senso, to our customers, webinar updates, upgrades, any sort of maintenance that we may need to do. You'll see that as announcements from us. Help and support. This is your help and support where you can go straight to our help and support page. And also our about. The about is going to show you the deployment group. So if you're working with support and they ask you about which deployment group you were in, you will find that information right here in the about area. Also, if you have access to this area as an organizational admin, you may have our Senso support live chat listed here. This takes you straight into our live chat where you can have a live chat with our Senso engineers. And then right here on user preferences, you will have the ability to change your user preferences. Maybe the layout, you can change it from light to dark theme or high contrast theme, and even the module preferences. I want to take shared or full control of a device every time I remote into it. I want to have medium quality of the device. I want to change the maximum count on it. So this is how you can change those user preferences. All right, and that is an overview of the Admin Center for Senso V2.